Well, we're back, and I'm off to a little bit of a late start because the buddy that I've got my little bet with, his car is running and driving, and he drove it out to my house tonight, and just doing a little test run. So I think he's got about 80 miles on it now. He's driven it a couple days, and so yeah, he's ahead of me, and I'm usually the guy that pushes real hard and everything, and he has been just killing himself to get this to make this event and not lose on this bet we have. So I kind of been the tortoise and the hare type of thing, and usually I'm pretty serious about stuff, and I've bounced around between things, and I went jeeping, and I've been playing, and it's coming back to bite me now. So I'm feeling the burn, especially now seeing his car. I mean, it turned out great. Again, it's a lot of along the lines of what I'm doing here. We just had some old beaters, and we thought we'd slam them together and go use them. So that's kind of it. But yeah, that kind of lit the fire under me. So I don't know how much I'll get done tonight. It's a little later than I normally start. But yeah, I'm gonna at least get this thing tack welded and fit and cut, and yeah, whether it's finish welded or not. But I'll keep going forward because I have to. So yeah, let's get going on this. So where we left off, I've got this panel set in here, and it's fit really nice. So what I want to do is, a lot of times, just depending on what you're using to cut this, you get into some of these intersections, and without maybe cutting real far, or crisscrossing cuts and having to cut more than you have to. What I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and trace this pan out and get a rough idea where it lays on the floor. And I may go ahead and just nip the corners in, so all I'm doing is cutting straight lines across, and the intersections will all be done, and I'm not having to, mess around trying to get a wheel to go where it don't want to go. So, yeah, I'm going to trace that, and then we'll pull this pan out and see how it looks. All right, so when I go to cut this off, that blue line should be where everything cuts, but some of my corners are a little goofy and everything because I just freehanded all this. So what I'm going to do is take my grinder and go ahead and probably get this corner dealt with to where, I'm not having to fight with the grinder to get in there. And then this corner, it's a basic 90, but I'm going to go ahead and, kind of just cut that little bit and that little bit there. I'll probably go ahead and cut all the way up to there and just get a nice crisp corner so that those are done, and I don't have to fight it. So the rest of this is just going to be a straight cut, just to meet in where the other bottom seam is under there somewhere. But so yeah, let's go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to cut. I'll put the pan back in and just cut this whole line together, and then that piece should just fall out, and we'll be ready to weld it in. So let's trim this up. All right, so I just continued that little line up. This corner, I ended up cutting that hole. It kind of had a weird radius to it the way I cut it. But yeah, I just cut that out to where it's like, again, it'll be pretty much a straight line across there. I got that little intersection cut, and the that front corner there. So now everything should just be a straight line, and then, like I say, all this this little piece, once I cut that off, it'll just fall on the floor, and my pan should just kind of fling under and go right into that and make a nice little seam right across, and we can weld her up and grind her in. So let's put this pan back in. So now you can see, like, this corner, I got a little bit of a gap there, but no big deal to fill. But now it's sitting down in, and now I am just a little bit below my line. Every time you do this, things seat a little bit better. This corner here, it's pretty much ready to almost cut and just weld that in there. So everything's lining up good. I think the next step is I'm going to climb under. I'm look underneath there, but I think I'm ready to start throwing a couple tacks across here, and then get this front half worked in, and then we'll go ahead and zip our lines. So this is moving right along. So for doing all this, one of the best little handiest welders I've ever found are these little Lincolns. This is just a little 135, and it welds almost anything that any hobbyist or anything is gonna do. I mean, I don't know. I trust it up to about probably 3/16 or so. It'll burn 1/4 inch, but if you're gonna do, like, I use my 220 welder if I'm burning like tabs on a rear axle housing or something like that, any heavier stuff. But for sheet metal and your light duty stuff, this thing actually burns hot. This welder is, God, this is probably 20 years old or something. I have used this thing for years and years, and I have never ever had a single issue with this thing. So I just keep putting wire through it, and I do run it on gas. That makes just a lot cleaner, less spatter, and just seems like your heat's more consistent. So, but yeah, if you don't have one of these things, you can find these on Marketplace and pick them up for a couple $100. To buy them brand new, they're not too bad. But this is hands down probably the most versatile, handiest little welder you could get. So yeah, that's just what I use. So I got these tacked across here, and as you can see, now it's slid. You know, I got things seated in and stuff, and it did drop below my line a little bit. So that's kind of why I didn't want to cut that till everything was, you know, I got the front and back setting where they go, and then that'll show you the exact place where that needs to be cut. The only thing I wish I'd have done when I went across here was leave about a 1/4 inch of a lip or so and just get it out from underneath this other layer here, because it basically, you can kind of see it's wanting to like tack onto that, and you know, I'm almost welding underneath this lip. So I may do the majority of this edge underneath the car where I can get to it really easy and not be trying to jam it down in between and get in there. So, and if that seam got welded in, I wouldn't really care. It's going to get seam sealed and bed lined and everything, and nobody'd really notice it. So it's whatever, however you want to do it. But that's just something, if you're doing this, maybe think about that if you got room and the rust isn't creeping that far forward. So but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and slice this and get this fit in there. All right, so that's sliced in, and yeah, so now it's just a little bit of pressure, and those two will make a nice seam, and yeah, it'll close up pretty decent. So, but yeah, and then the way I cut this was, and that's, I angle my grinder and try and get it to where it's going almost behind that, to where that seam is more closed up. When I shine down like that, it looks like the gap's really big, but if I come in here like this, they're pretty much, it's just a nice little notch for it to weld. So but yeah, if you kind of angle that grinder, you know, a little bit down, it'll almost cut it right behind it, and the wheel will just pretty much follow your piece that you're cutting behind. And yeah, and that seam just ends up being pretty much identical. So yeah, a little trick I've learned over the years, but if you can do it, it works. And then maybe you might have to grind a little bit. You actually might have to open it up a little bit. Sometimes it overlaps. So but yeah, just something I'd rather creep up on it than just have a huge gap I gotta fill. So now I just gotta cut the other side. Well, we got it all tacked in there. So after this, it's pretty much just, you know, polka dotting all the way around. And with these floors, yeah, it's not quite like doing a body panel, and you can probably, you know, get away with a little bit more heat in it and stuff. But I just have learned, if you're doing sheet metal, just take your time no matter what you're doing. It'll just make life easier in the end, because it warps and does its thing, and then you got to go and you got to hammer and dolly everything and stuff. So but yeah, just take your time, and that's what most body work is. Anybody, you know, a lot of people say they can't do it, and most people can, but they just don't have the patience, or, you know, it's like, I've always lived by if it's hard to do now, it's only going to get worse later. So it's kind of, if it doesn't fit or whatever, and you just, you know, decide to weld it in or do whatever, then, you know, you're going to pay for it later usually. So just take your time and fit it that one more time that you need or whatever. And I mean, this, I'm happy enough with this thing, and I'm pretty much ready to weld it in. So that's what I'm going to do. Well, it took a little bit, but I got this thing welded in. So I just went about 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch, skipped a couple inches, another 1/2, 3/4, and just went around and around and around and around. And yeah, you're not really stacking dimes when you're welding. Like, these are all just, they're spot welds, and they'll all grind and clean up and everything. But yeah, it's like, they're not the prettiest, but again, when you're polka dotting it, and it's just like doing a little burn and just connect the dots. So We'll grind all this up and see what it looks like. This seam, I don't know, there's a little bit of rust and junk in there that was kind of in underneath, and it welded kind of crappy. But I went underneath and I welded across under there too, so it's basically almost a double seam. And then I'm going to seam seal everything and stuff too. So I think it'll be fine for what this car is. But yeah, I'm going to grind this up real quick. It's getting late, and I just want to get this thing kind of buttoned up. So I'm going to grind it and just see how it looks. And there you have it. So I could clean it up and grind it a little bit more, but I'm going to get a light and shine behind, make sure there's no pinholes around this. And then by the time I smear some seam sealer around it, and then I'm going to bed line the whole inside of this, that Raptor liner. It's a really good product, and it lays out, it's got a little texture to it, but it lays out pretty nice and smooth. So, but by the time I do all that, you'll never see any of this, and it'll seal it up really well. And I want to do the bottom too, but for now, I'm just probably going to seam seal it, and then this fall when I redo the whole body on this, I'll be able to get to the bottom a lot easier. But that'll seal it up enough for this summer. So, but we can cross this rear one off the list, and I guess tomorrow we're moving back to this front one and get that knocked out, and then I'm back into the wiring. So, yeah, it's crunch time, and like I say, my buddy motivated me tonight, so yeah, it's some late nights. Well, with the late start I got tonight, I didn't think I'd get this done, and I got a little fine tuning to do on it, but I'm pretty much calling it good. But yeah, I just realized my alarm goes off in 3 hours, so it's like, but I got that done. I can cross it off the list. I'm moving on to something else. So yeah, but yeah, good night, and I'm glad I knocked that rear one out, got it finished up. We'll get this front one done, and I don't have too much left to do. I'd like by this weekend that I can go out and get some miles on this. Like I say, my buddy, he's got about 80 miles on his car now, and I'm slacking. So, yeah, if I can get all this buttoned up this week, and then this weekend just put a few miles on it, and hopefully we'll be good to go. So, thanks again, and hopefully tomorrow I got more for you. So, yep, stay tuned.